So, I think once more, I want to clarify what method are we talking about, which is actually detrimental. See, there is a system that nature has, you know, we are not allowing that to function. This is the problem, that we are interfering with the natural processes. And precisely the reason is that we don't understand what is this natural process is, you know. And so actually, at every level, we are interfering with children, whether, just for food itself, how we interfere and do not allow their biological intelligence to respond. You keep feeding them by lying to them. All kinds of tricks you play, and you keep feeding them, completely ignoring the child's, uh, many times request to stop feeding, you know. And actually, the one major issue is that the modern educated people actually have lost the ability to understand non-verbal communication, non-verbal cues. You have to, unless they talk, you don't understand. So the first 3 years of a child is actually quite tragic for the literate people, because they don't know what the child is trying to say, nor you have the patience to watch and and respond sensitively. Of course, you also do not have the background now of observing, that I was, as I was telling yesterday, that you're not experienced how other people have been looking after children, you know. So somewhere there is a immediately you are put into a place where you have to look after the children, and you have no idea what to do. So the basic confusion is that the general notion of the educated, that children need your help. This is the most fundamental issue that I am finding, that without you, children cannot function, without your help. That's a problem. So that help is extended to everywhere, whether it is, and most the destructive help that you do is in terms of learning. That your assumption of knowledge, education, that is one, but the way nature or life has intended that to learn is something else. So there is a conflict between how we are biologically equipped to learn, and which also is dictated, what the content is also dictated by biology. We are interfering and creating all the problems. And what we've done is that for a child, there is a world that is integrated. They don't compartmentalize any action. For them, there is nothing called work, which is inferior to learning, which is superior to play. All kinds of, compartmentalization and hierarchy is created by the modern educated people. So unless you begin to explore this and reintegrate your fragmentation, it is very difficult to even to understand the child, because you're always looking through these fragments. So yesterday I was trying to show you that how the child is learning the world. And as I was telling you, that there is only one process that the child uses to understand the world. Only one process, which is they use the senses and make connections with the senses around the characteristics of each and everything. Like I was telling yesterday, how that comparison is made by the child about the left hand and right, no, the left leg and the right leg. No, you saw yesterday how the child was trying to compare. Now this is the principle that the child uses for understanding of everything, actually, everything. And this is what all the senses also do. all the senses are actually calibrating this, that, for example, I probably yesterday I told you about how the, a situation of your first time eating a mango. You ate a mango as a child, first time. Second time when you ate the mango, another mango, you recalled, oh, this is very similar. Maybe that belongs to another type of mango. So you will understand the taste difference, the color difference, the shape difference. Am I right? So it's only through finding differences. But there is also another thing that, as you're eating mango, you also eat karela or bitter gourd or something else, So each time you're eating, each time you're creating this distinction that mango, different types of mango belong to one family, and it is not part of apple and whatever, tomato or grapes or anything like that. All those are different. But again, a child will make put all the mangoes together. You understand? And at another level, the child will begin to put all the fruits together, all the sour fruits together. All these are understood because of the senses, not because some teacher told you, or not because of read about it. This is the key thing that you must understand, that learning can only happen through your senses. And the senses function organically, naturally, without a choice. There is nothing you can do you can actually destroy it. You cannot add anything to that. You can destroy it by start teaching them everything and take them immediately to the linguistic world. That way you can completely distort the senses. So now what I want to show you was that yesterday I showed you how the child learns the real world. Today I will share with you how the child learns the word. Language learning. Let's learn. You see, the best way to understand how a child learns or to appreciate there is a system which is not in your control, which is in nobody's control, is the way a child learns mother tongue. Understand? You're not teaching. Of course, now modern people are teaching. That's a tragedy now, that will prolong the child's learning. That's the thing. Otherwise, I keep telling this, in Bangalore slums, children speak around 4 to 5 languages by the time they teach 4 years. 4 to 5 languages with no help at all. Only because in the surroundings, there are people speaking all these different languages, There is Kannada,
I think Jinan.
Yeah.
Good disconnect हो गया.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a system of system given by life to make sense of the world. And if you don't destroy it, you will retain it for till how much whatever age you are. It's not that this is only, only in childhood this happens. At any age this can happen, provided you don't interfere with this process. I'll tell you one interesting, somebody shared her experience. Once, there was a group of people in one of my workshops here. This lady was from Canada. She used to come to Kerala for the last few years, 5-6 years. And every year she goes to a teacher to learn Malayalam. So she would learn the grammar and whatever the regular teach your second language, no? And completely unsuccessful. So she was sharing this experience of one lady from Orissa. Now, what is interesting in Kerala nowadays is that there are so many people from, economically poor people, illiterate people from all over India, from Orissa, from Bengal, from North Indian states. People come to work here, Bengalis and all that, and within 6 months they pick up Malayalam. So she happened to, the hotel she was staying in, she met a Orient lady from Orissa, non-literate. In 6 months' time, she was able to speak Malayalam. So there is a very clear-cut process given by life to understand and learn anything. But because you go through education, you completely destroy it, because what you destroyed is the natural system given by life to make sense of the world. And the whole tragedy is that this is something that nobody has paid attention to, because your focus has always been how to teach them. So you start with the assumption that they need your help. Without your help, learning cannot happen. So you set up the schools, you set up all kinds of things, And then another very important thing that you must understand is that, see, when this whole schooling business started, even in Europe, it was only very few people who were into learning. Please understand this. The whole population was not sent to schools to learn. There were very few people, and that was not impacting the general culture of the people. There were few people here and there who could, read and write and all that, but that was not impacting the general livelihood and life of people. So this is a modern tragedy where everyone is sent to the school and 95% of them come out without any true knowledge. I'm telling, most of us are like that only. It's only people by accidentally, people like Newton and Einstein and all that. No, Einstein especially. And there are many, many people actually. There are several people. Accidentally, because nobody paid attention to them, they escaped this tragedy and they became geniuses. It's a very simple thing. Because their system was not killed. That is the thing. So let me share with you how children learn language. This is a, yeah. So one of the things that I want to tell you is that this idea of metaphors, I'm sure all of you have heard about metaphor. Our usual understanding is that metaphors is in the realm of language. But actually, all these are experiential things. Metaphor is an experiential way of understanding the world by creating comparisons between what is similar and what is dissimilar. So this is what you saw. I showed you yesterday how they were exploring, similarity in form, color. That's why they chose, that violetish flower to represent the eggplant, which is also violet. Texture, size, social norms. So all these get replicated in the real world. So it's important actually to really understand what is the role of language and how children learn language. Because for us, the whole modern educated people, the confusion is that knowledge is about is about language, is in language. So what I'm telling is that language is basically secondary source of information, knowledge, secondary source, but only if it is in relation with the primary source. Otherwise, it's pointless. So the statement that I always make is literates learn the word, illiterates learn the world. So only by understanding illiterates, we will be able to understand this whole natural process that is given by life. So there are two types of languages. One is experiential language, where the world and the word are integrated. This is the language of illiterate communities. And what we have is mental language, where the words are devoid of experience. So we create more and more words which are devoid of experience, actually. So the issue is that senses has access to the world and mind has access to language. I hope this is clear. That mind has no direct access to the world. It is through the senses that the mind can understand the world. But the mind and the body has to function together. So why children are able to learn 4-5 languages is because the experience or the context is the same. It's only the naming that changes. So conscious memory is not needed. So there is organic memory. And what is also important about this memory is that memory is both, it's held together with language and the object and the experience. Whereas the modern memory is more linguistic. That is why we also think in terms of language. No effort has been taken, meaning reasoning is not done consciously. So the reasoning is happening within us. What I mean by reasoning here is that organization is happening within us. We are not organizing it consciously. Implicit knowledge of grammar get embedded without any effort. And these are our biological capacities, which are not learned but awakened and developed by the context. So how children learn language is that adults provide the word. Children hear that as sound. You must differentiate between word and sound. When an adult is telling chair, the child is actually hearing a sound. It's only the meaning it created only in experience. That is when the child is seeing many times chair is being uttered, and the child is also seeing that in each utterances the chair is part of that activity that has taken place. Keep the chair out of the room, bring the chair in, use the chair for climbing up or whatever, So you're using that word many times, and each time the child is seeing. So actually the child is understanding the experience because the child saw what happened even without understanding language. So the beginning of distortion is that adults provide the meaning. So you take away the role of the child to connect the world and the word. And actually this is the beginning of the removal of body from our experience of the world or our being in the world. So I'll give you one very interesting experience some friend had shared. For a child Pa is water. But on seeing the sea for the first time, he was very fascinated and said, Pa boo, with extended hands. Right? Now, this is a clear statement, a sentence that the child has formed. Boo represented the sound of the waves, and extended hands meant hugeness. So the whole being got involved in communication, you know. So you can see that how the child began to use sound as language, body as language, you know, and naturally word as language. That is the child's own invention, the word pa. And all these things, you know, whether it is smell, you know, like flower or fish or whatever, no? So there is this, the whole being is involved in understanding. So this is another thing that the same friend had shared this, you know, PP is vehicle, four-wheelers are bada PP. So you see how adjective is getting formed. Ships, plane, all these are also, you know, bada PP. And whenever he sees more vehicles, he will keep on counting PP, 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 you know. So I'll share with you some very interesting way in which a child was trying to, you know, create how organize in the data. So the child saw this peacock flying, and the child said crow, kaka. You know, so her first reference is the one the child saw first. Kaka is the most familiar experience. So all the flying things became kaka for the child. But the same peacock got down and started walking, and the child said kuta. See? So all flying ones are kaka, and all walking ones are kuta for the child. So there is a gradual process by which children begin to organize information on their own. Now, this is interesting that how adjectives are formed. You know, Mimi and Cuckoo are dog and cat. Tigers are Bada Mimi. And lion, of course, the child had confusion. You know, the body was more like a dog and the face was more like a cat. So these categories formation are abstracted from experiences. You know, it's only through the senses that this organization can happen. So even without language, this process goes on, and language is only a convenient tool for identification and communication. Because you can, you know, you can call mango, amchi, manga, konga, kanga, you call any damn thing. But that is a social convenience. But the taste is not social convenience. That is not, you know, you cannot tell, you know, you cannot, you know, get the child to eat sweet and sell, no, that is, you know, bitter. So when you learn language in the natural way, the body and mind integrity of that is retained. And the world and the word are connected together. Because actually, this is what we must understand, that this is actually the crisis of modern man. That there is a fragmentation of the mind and body, because they have no experience. They only have the language, no experience. So the child's language cannot be separated from the experience they are having of the world. And that experience of the world integrates the language. So when you force language onto children, their understanding of the real world gets distorted. So I will also show you the process of play. You see, because actually more than scores, more dangerous thing is that how you have now misunderstood play and toy. Why you are giving modern toys. That is the reason why there is far more damage to children today. Because for a child, actually playfulness is a cognitive activity. It's a quality actually. Playfulness as cognitive activity makes every activity into play and every object into toy. So this is what will make you understand the essential nature of how a child learns. So as I told you, playfulness is the quality that is embedded in the child. So every act is play. So this is a very, very good example of playfulness in a child, imagination in a child. So this is a coconut piece. The child has taken a bite. Immediately looking at that shape, he remembered the Nandi bull horn. So he told it's like the horn of the Nandi bull. And suddenly, then he shifted that to the half moon. So you can see how immediate comparisons are taking place. A form is being compared. Now, if you actually carefully look into the way children actually create their own toys, this is the principle that get used. So when you actually give a toy to the child, you are completely destroying the natural process of understanding the world. So when you give a toy to the child, you're actually destroying two things. One, you're destroying the natural content of the child learning, and you're destroying the process of learning. So play is actually reenactment of experience by recreating and reliving the experience. And toy is the object that is used as props in the process of reenactment of experience. Any object that resembles the original object or recreated to suit the context, that is a toy. So the resemblance can be in terms of color, shape, size, texture, anything actually. So here the child this is a child. The same object became a bus. She sat on it. So the same object becomes all kinds of things. So as I told you, ready-made toys are more dangerous than scrolls. Any type of toy, even that Lego and all that kind of things. Every toy, every interference is anti-child. So we must look at toy as a process. You see, it's like this, that there is a developmental process associated with walking, talking, how the child learns to talk. You will find that same thing even in the process of making different type of toys. At each age, children create different types of toys. So the tragedy today is that even a 13, 14-year-old still sleep with this whole big, huge stuffed toys. And that is given as a solution for psychological issues. That's the whole tragedy of modern man. Body as toy. Any found object as that stick is the child's bus, vehicle. I'm sure all of you must have encountered this kind of activities that children do. Two combs, and all types of vehicles are explored. So you can see that, as I was telling earlier, that the child is sometimes looking at the form, exploring the materials, function, process. So left to themselves, the only thing the child does is to make sense of the world. So every activity is a cognitive activity. And experience, they experience playfully, which leads to recreating experience of the real world, and in which they make the toys, and recreating experience in two-dimensional space. This is drawing. So this I will come back later. Let me just stop sharing right now, and then let's see. So we can do a bit of clarification. And so I want to tell you this, that that every activity done by the child is a cognitive activity. I'm telling this because drawing is misunderstood by modern people as art and all that kind of nonsense, because we have not ever observed children actually drawing without any assistance. So in the school that we ran, there was no interference at all. Absolutely no interference. Children doing all kinds of things. And after 3 years, we happened to look at all the drawings children have done. So we found the correlation between the real experience that they are having to the remaking through the play and making of toys and the drawings. So unless you see this connection between experience, play, and drawing, you will not be able to understand why drawing is actually a cognitive activity. And cognitive activities are coming from within. Please understand this. If you make the child draw something, that is not a cognitive activity. You have to just leave the child alone completely, without interfering, without even paying attention. Children don't need your attention, actually. In fact, they don't like your attention. Yeah. Yeah, Lekha.
Yeah, I just have something to share. In my school, there's a girl whose mother is pregnant, and I just gave papers out and I told the children, draw whatever you want. She drew a circle, and in the circle, she drew a small dining room, bedroom, all that. And she said, this is my mother's stomach. And in the stomach, there are all these rooms, and she has a baby's living in the... I had tears in my eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was amazing,
That image, please take a nice photo and send it to me.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I've given it to the mother, but yes.
Ask her to shoot, and please ask her to join our workshops. You see, mothers must really understand these things, That whole tragedy is that today everybody is fed with this nonsensical understanding coming from the West. I can tell you that is absolutely anti-child, 100% anti-child. Everything that they're suggesting is anti-child. So it's very important that we, you see, it's very simple, that if you actually observe your child without interference, you will understand the child. And that's the only thing I did. I just began to observe children. So this kind of observation hardly anybody has done. There are two advantages that I have. One, I stopped reading. I stopped reading for several years so that my system rewired. I'll tell you the damages of a modern educated mind. Number one, that educated mind do not know how to observe, because they will observe through ideas. They don't observe without ideation. A plain observation they lack, number one. Secondly, whatever they see, they want to conclude. They will immediately put a full stop to they saw something and they say, this is why the child is doing. So there is an immediate conclusion that the modern educated mind does. These two are the ones that is stopping any kind of natural cognition to take place. That we do not know how to hold doubt. This is the problem. We do not know just plain observation without conclusion. You see, conclusion, if you look at how we learned our mother tongue, there was never ever conscious conclusion at any point of time. Did we conclude anything? No. So the understanding of language took place on its own. That is what is called self-organization. Your ego was not taking part. It's happened to you. So learning is something that happens to you. Your only job is objective observation. Objective observation means no ideation. That's what it means. When you put in an idea, then it is your personal bias that you're putting in. But when you're seeing something without your idea, then that's an objective observation. You're just seeing the child is doing this, the child is doing that. So there's a continuous observation that happens. And as that observation begins to happen continuously, an self-organization begins to happen. That, you see, what you can look at what happened to me. I have been observing children for several years. And I found that there is a similarity in form, function, process, structure, materials. I don't think you would have ever heard this kind of explanation from anybody. And it happened to me on its own because I found that everywhere children are doing the same thing. You see, all of you must have seen how children bounce on sofa. Every child does it. No? So why is the child doing it? So this is what was interesting to me, that there is something that children do everywhere. All over the world, children do the same thing. Exactly the same thing. That is when I understood that these are activities that are biologically dictated, not egoistically dictated. So what I did was to just keep on observing, and on its own it became clear to me. So I made no effort to conclude at any point of time. You understand now? Yeah.
What you mentioned is so interesting, and this is what people these days teach in meditation, that just observe everything, do not ideate or reach to conclusions. And it is interesting to know that we are born with it, and
Absolutely.
we kill it and then end up trying to learn it again.
But also the problem with meditation is that you only do it in the 2 hours. After that, you're back to your same mind.
Yeah.
See, this is the tragedy that the modernity has not understood,
Yeah. So basically, living can be meditation. Living can be meditation.
Yeah. And not only that, you destroy children, and then these modern adults want to have the arrogance of wanting to teach children how to meditate, how to be mindful. This is the tragedy. Children are being taught. Actually, I will send you some, if you remind me, Rituparna, I will share with you some link to some work done by children with absolute no assistance at all. The kind of beauty that children have, the kind of beauty with which they have created is unbelievable. That is why I oppose any kind of art education to children. Because first of all, we are so mediocre and low grade. What is that we are going to teach them? You see, one very important thing is that children are creating, they are conduits. They are not egoistically creating. Please understand this. Life is creating through them. When you get educated, you become egoistic. You cannot escape it. Education, because education is done consciously, you become egoistic. See, you don't have ego regarding mother tongue, no? Because mother tongue happened to you. There was no point you use your silly mind to make any conclusions. So nobody is giving award for mother tongue learning, no? Because it just happened to you. That life has taken over and enabled us to learn. That's a process of life, learning mother tongue. But if you understand it very clearly, then at least you can stop interfering, no? Yeah. And also dyslexia thing I wanted to, see, this learning to read and write, it can happen at any age. The problem is that, first of all, see, there are many examples of children that I know of who have learned to read and write completely on their own. But it doesn't happen at the age of 2 or 3 or anything like that. And there is also a hierarchy of learning language. That first you hear. Hearing is the first. Then you learn to speak. Then you learn to read. Then you learn to write. But this is not the way that, the schools do. First thing is writing itself. Na? A, B, C, D. You start with writing A. You see? And there is nothing called A in real life. That is even more confusion. So, see, this is the damage that we do, that now we think children need simplified knowledge. No, their brain is capable of simplifying it, simplifying the complex word. This is what we are missing. That the mother tongue, 5 languages the child is able to speak with nobody simplifying it further. And all learnings, traditional learnings, there has been absolutely no simplification. Whether it is a good Ayurvedic doctor, Vaidya, or any traditional learning process, whether it is a farmer or a potter or a carpenter, anything that you take, none of this was simplified for young children. So children have a way of looking at the complex world and simplifying it. That simplification is what I just showed you, that how they looked at the complex process and simplified it in terms of form, function, process, structure, materials. Do you understand? That you have to recollect how we, created, how we played house. We created form, we created function, process, we understood materials through the process, and then finally we were able to, keep our house intact for some days, which means we also understood how structural strength, you understood about structural strength. So these, I think, are the 5 attributes. Context changes. So in a desert, what the child will do is very different from what the child will do in a hilly area or near the river or sea, or, the context is what differs. But the primary rules of learning never changes. Look at language. Any language you are learning, wherever you are in China, you learn Chinese, Russian, any language. But the nature of learning is same. It's just observing, connecting things together, and understanding.
Sir, I wanted to ask at this stage, for the younger years, I have seen this happen. Actually, it's validating quite a few things I've seen my children do and happen in terms of drawing and play and all that. But I'm just curious to understand, like, because you have observed indigenous children, as they grow up, there are multiple concepts in life which we don't perceive with our direct senses anymore, right? Which is abstract learning. How does that work? Like, let's say, whatever.
The issue is this: if it is necessary, we should learn that. No? It depends on that. You see, all this abstract thing, this is actually causing
so you're saying all subjects should not be taught the way they are taught. Like, basically, if someone's interested in human body, then they will learn biology. Or
you see, first of all, what have you learned? And then what is your final outcome of it? Why don't you get that idea? Why are we keeping on insisting that they should go through this nonsense and become like us?
No,
I'm telling that in this whole damn thing. If you truly want a psychologist, if you truly want a biologist, find out a different way. Why can't we create more and more Charles Darwins rather than so mediocres like us? This is the question I'm asking. A Charles Darwin can only happen if they are observing the world. Please understand this. Sitting in a classroom, no Darwin can happen. Newton is not a product of schools. Edison is not a product of schools. Any scientist, any scientist that is worth their name, they are all doing the same process that I'm talking about. Please understand this. None of them have gone through this regular nonsensical schools, because they will never be, they will become vegetables like us. Sorry, vegetables are more meaningful than us. I don't know, maybe newspapers like us, which is useless. I mean, you know that, na? After all this education, what is that actually we know? So first and foremost, you must keep asking this, what is the need for this nonsensical education that produces absolute nonsensical people? Egoistic, arrogant, ignorant, confident. So this is the tragedy that I'm finding, that educated people are very confident. On what? So confidence is a quality that you get because you use your ego. Confidence comes from ego. A natural learner is humble. But the educated are so egoistic, na? So-called educated, that I mean that. So the issue is that now we must actually critically look at what is it. So if you want to make your child into another labor, cognitive labor, go ahead. Schools are very good. They will give you, some job somewhere. But if that is not the intention, that you want people who actually are in love with the world. So what we actually have is people who are alienated from life, who are outrightly destroying the earth. That is because of education. It is education that is a cause for the destruction that we are doing to the earth. A farmer's mind will never think of anything like that. You go to any illiterate community, they are kinder, they are much better to nature.
Hi, this is Arul.
Yeah, Arul.
Yeah, someone is also typing what's the alternate. So yeah, we understand, but emotionally to sort of drill down is good. But then what? I mean, if say I have a kid and there is no access to nature, so much of nature, then what is the way out? That's, I think, if we focus more on that, we understand all this. So that's why we are here.
Those are individually one has to start looking at, that you see, for example, simple activity is that stop buying toys. At least thing that you can do is to stop, buying toys. But I think that is the most dangerous activity that you do. Stop teaching them that silly books that you have in your houses, Don't teach them those silly rhymes and, that ABCD kind of books. If at all you want to expose them to books, expose them to high quality, good quality books, Sing to them Tagore, or sing to them something like that. No, tell them a story from Tolstoy. Why degrade? There are ample stories. You see, this children's storybooks, these are all a modern new invention. Traditionally, there was nothing for children. The story that you talk was not for children. Children may hear it. But the storytelling was an adult activity. Every activity was adult activities in which children took part. There was no separate activity for children. It's only now that we have degraded them and created some silly ideas.
Yeah. So if the kid is interested, and so let's say the curiosity is there, the kid wants to,
child. Please stop using the word kid. That's a very demeaning word. Kid. Use child, please now.
Okay, fine. So if the child is sort of getting curious when we go to a shop and some math we are doing and giving a change, So if the child wants to learn how to do that math, and we obviously do some teaching. So if you say
already
no to
condition the child, na? That's a problem. The child on their own is not going to look at maths. So you already conditioned the child to look at certain things. Of course, you take the child to a shop, they want toys. But right in the beginning, you already conditioned the child. That is the problem, na? So what I'm talking about is that how do we reimagine situations? Let's start with the house. Simple thing. The most important aspect of how methods becomes damaging is when processes are replaced by products. What I mean by this is that in home, do the child get to take part in the kitchen activities to begin with? One simple activity, that how tall is your the platform for cooking? Is it on the ground or is it 3 feet up? 3 feet up means the child is not going to sit till they are grown up, 3-4 years. So one simple thing you can do is to start using the floor. The child will at least then start seeing the processes that take place, that how do you cook? Because see, the fundamental difference between modernity and tradition is that tradition is process oriented, modernity is product oriented. So if you want to do anything to counter that, you must understand this fine difference between process and product. That when you begin to learn, you are a process oriented person. But when you begin to read and apply knowledge, you are a product oriented person. Simple. When you are observing, you are sensitive, you are a learner. When you are not observing, you are just using, applying someone else's, some expert's idea, then you are into product. So first of all, reclaim your sense of process. That's the first thing that you need to do. Because ultimately, the child is learning to learn you, not what you teach. You are the subject. When you become a learner, a matured person, who is interested in things, that is what the child will pick up.
So while answering one of the questions before, you mentioned that a book shouldn't be introduced to children, but if at all you want to introduce some high quality books. What is your definition of high quality books, if I may ask?
Qualities don't write for silly books for children. That's what I meant. A Tagorean book Tagore's book is a high quality book. See, Tagore's book, if you look at any of his stories, that is meaningful to an adult and to a child. Tagore did not write for children. But almost all the stories that Tagore wrote are interesting for everybody, na?
Okay, I get it. So
they are meaningful, and they are to the context of life. They're not talking about some abstract thing that that you don't experience at all. You see, the most important thing we must keep in mind is that Shruti, you only mentioned about the meditative quality now. A meditative quality means you're present to the world. What that means is that if you introduce dinosaurs to a child, they are absent to the world because they will never see a dinosaurs. But if you talk about ants that come to your house, or cockroaches, or lizard, or whatever, or a bird, every day the child will see the bird. Every day. And that will, so any story that you want to tell, if it is related with that the child is able to experience it. Actually, children don't need any stories. They want an experience that you have to tell them. That's all. You saw something, you went out, you saw a beautiful butterfly, it had some color, whatever, that's all the child needs to hear. Or a bird or whatever. Every day the child will be now looking for that butterfly. and they will be seeing a lot of butterflies around. But the problem with all the strange new books that has become so popular, which are completely in the mind, you don't get to see any of that things. What is that British writer who became very famous? I'm forgetting the name. For children, she wrote so many books, no?
J.K.
Anyway.
Rowling.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
That kind, So the children will never be meditative. They will be absent to the real world. That's the whole problem. Children must be present to the world. Presence means you are meditating. You are mindful. And the meaning of presence is that your senses are alive and your mind is taking part along with the senses. That is what it means. For a fragmented person, the senses will sense, but the mind will be elsewhere. That is a fragmentation.
Okay, so since some people mentioned that they're more focused on understanding the do's, the way I think of it, basically the role as a parent or a parent should be to awaken our own senses and try to live our own life, and children will automatically gel well in whatever it is. We don't have to create a different child's world, children specific things. Basically, they can get along with us. Absolutely. Automatically.
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand. Many of the things you mentioned, they were validated because I have been trying to do that, and it is surprising how accommodating my 1.5-year kid is. He goes and does everything with me, literally, and it is surprising how flexible he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing everything that you did today. So one of the issues that we currently have in the modern world, I feel, is that people don't have time to dedicate to children, and because of
don't create
that,
children. Don't create children.
Yeah.
Don't create children. If you have no
Right,
time,
right.
And
don't create
children. Simple.
I agree.
If you
But
create
for
a child, then child is the priority.
Right. And I'm just trying to just empathize that why did toys and all these distractions came into picture, because the parents didn't have time, so they wanted something
don't
engage
waste
with them.
don't waste time. Don't waste time on that nonsense. Don't waste time on that nonsense.
Sir, I also wanted to just share something on lines with what Shruti is saying, because I have a 7-month-old daughter, and when she said that her son is like very accommodating and all of that, that also reminds me that what I've noticed and what I'm like kind of learning from her is that this attitude, which is a make-do attitude, what I call these days. Okay, so basically it's like this, that if she sees something like situation, let's say that she wants to go this way, right? And if somebody has put a hand on that way and something like this, so then kids do not have this notion that this what you have done is wrong, like this is right or wrong. Whatever is the situation, then they'll just like take a different way and start going that way. So they do not like do that. So it is like that make do attitude, that whatever is the thing, then she'll start like mold herself or her plan according to that and start doing just with that. And that is like very interesting, rather than just like fuzzing about that, oh, I was going this way, then why this has come in the way, like that.
I second what you're saying, because in school, we give a lot of, we collect a lot of empty cartons and bottle tops and, whatever parents send, whatever is collected in the house and send it to us. We leave it, there's glue, there's scissors, there's everything, and children are allowed to do what they want. I have realized not a single child has ever come to me to say, oh, I need this, or oh, I need that. They make do with whatever is available. They make, and no two things are alike. Each one is so unique. They've never come to me and asked that now we've run out of this, so which is such an adult thing. Oh, I want to make this, but ye nahi hai. What do I do? This
Right.
never happens in children.
Right. And yeah, that is basically a great learning also. And it is just this open attitude, which, this is something we were getting to. And then he emphasized it yesterday in the last class also, that how we can learn from children just makes us like more that we're open to that learning.
I've seen this with 3 years, 4 years, 5, 6, and 7. This quality.
This reminds me of experience with my son. So I let him play and engage with whatever things is. So I noticed that when he's not able to figure out something or anything, he comes asking for help on his own and when needed. So he also understands automatically that when to ask for help and whom to ask for help and goes back. And that gave me the confidence that even if I don't send him to traditional schooling, if he's interested in something, he will be curious and come to ask for help. That how do I figure this out? And so that really gave me confidence. So children also know how to ask for help.
Just before I forget. So I hope all of you are in that WhatsApp group, no? So I will send you a link to for you to join our main announcement group. So because I might actually delete this and then because I have so many groups, that's the reason. So you can become part of some other group, and I will suggest also which group to become so that so that we can keep in touch and So Lekha, where is your school?
Actually, it's a community school. It's run by the Bora community. It is funny. It's called a madrasa. And when they approached me that, will you join us as a consultant to introduce free play? I just jumped at the chance because I said, why not? Let me try and see. They were kind. I mean, they understand something because they are letting children play for an hour every day. This kind of play. So, which is great. And they are, when I say I want this, I want to do this, that, it's the process and not the product. So we had an exhibition of all these things that the children made. And we asked the parents to come to see. And I had put little labels of what everything was. And so now even the parents are beginning to understand. So I had one mother who came to me and said, now, that the summer holidays are coming, how should we spend time with children at home?
Okay.
So exactly this, I've written down, I said, your kitchen is a maths and science laboratory. Involve them in simple things like peeling potatoes, peeling boiled eggs, grating cheese, things like this, because I have to spell it all out for these mothers. And some of them are first-time learners who are very eager for their children to read in English and, so I really can't cut down so much on the writing, but I managed to keep these children away from books for an hour every day. And this kind of a curriculum. And slowly I'm trying to stop teaching art in standard 1 and 2. That is my second thing on the agenda. So it's in Mumbai. This school is in Mumbai.
Okay. Where in Mumbai?
It's at Baikala.
Okay.
It's called MSB. It's in Baikala.
Okay. So I also wanted to add quickly,
sometime. Lekha, send me a personal message because I can't find your number there. Just send me later
Sure.
on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Yeah, Rituparna, please.
No, I just quickly wanted to add the place my question came from also in the context of that everyone's sharing. So my elder daughter is 10. She will be soon 11. So she has spent her entire childhood 95% doing whatever you said, right? Like mostly playing on her own, composing tunes on her own and doing things on her own. In fact, she doesn't like even the internal home environment, in the sense we don't have gadgets or the whole house is upside down because they're constantly constructing things. Her house hardly looks like a modern. Yet she doesn't like it. She only likes it under the sky. So even if she has to come back from school or wherever, she throws her bag and goes out immediately to fetch friends literally from the street. Like, and friends meaning it can be anybody, like a watchman, somebody at the signal, someone's begging. She said, why don't you take him home? Let's give him food. Like, I've done all sorts of ad hoc things, okay? And now she's up in arms till against. Last year, I did get a formal diagnosis because she was struggling internally, emotionally also, that she's unable to read and her friends now can. So that's how I came to know that she has that condition. But even now she's asking, why are you asking me to read and write? Is this a policy by somebody? She's asking. So she speaks English. When she speaks, no one can tell that she has. So thankfully in their school, Waller school also, they've done lots of listening and speaking. She can tell stories at adult level, but reading is a challenge. So I'm now realizing that now I let my guards down, that okay, if she really wants to learn reading as a coping mechanism, she will. So yesterday I didn't respond to her. I was doing something else. She asked me a question. I was writing and I didn't pay attention to her. So I saw a little note. What time will we leave? We had to go somewhere. So I realized, and all correct spellings. Okay. So I said, how did you realize? So then she actually told me she went all around house to fetch those 5 words. So I'm because she really can't. She can't even write what, which, why, nothing. And then she's asking, now she's hearing all this about the government and elections and all that. Adults are talking. So she's asking, who asked to read? Modi asked to read, or what? She's asking. Like she has no interest. Whatever she said, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why are you forcing me? So, all right. And the younger one is making. She's 7. She's figuring all this fuss. She's, for her, alphabets are diagrams. So she's trying a straight D and a D and making like drawings out of D's and things like that. And she's telling us, see, it's so simple. You can write D this way and this way. Why can't you read? So
where are you based, Ritpurna?
I'm also in Mumbai, in New Bombay, in in Vashi.
Okay.
So yeah, whatever you said is very alive in me, but sometimes I just feel like, okay, what next? That anticipation, and maybe that's our rational mind, because we have got programmed for so long. It sometimes feels a little more secure to know, okay, that they're doing the basics as per the modern life, and then, but maybe the whole world will change, because there are many people who are surviving without reading, writing anyway.
Yeah,
and
fact,
also,
you know, what I have been feeling in the last few days is that autism and similar behavior, no, is actually, nature is rebelling against modern mindset.
Yeah, even I feel so. Some kind of
extremely
rebellion.
Sensory. They are very different, very unmoldable.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of visual thinking.
Yeah, so we are not able to really understand them. It's our problem. It's not their problem. You know. Yeah.
So can I? I had a child, and that was in class prep. He was at that time, and he was labeled. That is when you said autism. He was labeled by the principal there that he is a hyperactive child and he cannot pay attention here and there, and so. Now, after I mean, say 10, 15 years, I've met him again, and he met me through Facebook, and I was the principal after the principal who had done this. And he said, just because I was labeled, I had to face so many problems out there. Now he is in Shantiniketan, Bangalore, Calcutta, and he's doing so good. He's a historian and a photographer. And then he told me, I would be sitting in the class and I would be looking out, and if I would see a bird, I would get excited. So I couldn't sit there in the class, and I kept going. So now you tell me, why did she do that to me? And sometimes children are labeled, and that becomes a problem. Then schools are not so bad, because they are that respite that sometimes children get from their parents. And they come and share so much. Yes, because they come and share so much with the teachers, but then you need to have those kind of teachers, and there are. And they say that I cannot tell this to my mother, but I'm sharing it with you. This is when I have these anger issues, and this is what I do. And I mean, they need that space, because parents need to get out of that they need to provide that stress-free and competition-free. That is the major, I mean, the society, if you look around, more so they are those kind of people, not except those who are attending this. So most of them are the people are like, they are facing. So children need that space where they can be happy. They have that. And sometimes I feel if there are those spaces, you call them by any name. But yes, learning has to be the way you're saying. It cannot be forced, and you cannot destroy that. I agree to that, and that space has to be provided. Call it by any name, but homes are again not all that safe. And I mean, the children want that kind of a society of friends or somewhere they can social emotionally they can be happy.
Yeah. So we'll be closing in another 10 minutes. If other people who have not spoken, if they have something to share, then please do.
Sir, my name is Raja.
Yeah.
I would be happy to, I'm from Chennai.
Okay, Raja.
Yeah, I would be happy to listen to the model school which you were talking about, and then how a day plan, what you would be doing with the children, just to know, so that we can also probably pick up some ideas from that. What you normally do with the children for different grades. You can probably talk about one grade for a few minutes. What do you regularly do?
Yeah.
Please.
In fact, later sometime, I will do a proper presentation on the school, that how we started, what all happened, and it was only a 3-year experience, but we had a fantastic time there. So maybe sometime I will do that. But see, one thing I wanted to tell you is this, that first and foremost, we realized that we should create a space for children where they can be absolutely free. That is number one. Secondly, we did not want to have this idea that we know every day what we should be doing. That let children decide what they should be doing. So we completely upturned the whole idea of a school. And we used to call it reimagining schools. That's the whole idea, was reimagining schools. And the one of the main thing of our reimagination is that you let the child do whatever they want. Not only the child, you also do the same thing with adult. There is no teacher. So the teaching was banned in my school. No teaching. You are free to learn whatever you feel like learning. If you are into farming, you do farming. If you are into, whatever your interest is, you can develop that interest. So we created a space where the adult's job is to explore what they like to do and not interfere with children. At the same time, we also wanted the teachers, I'm just calling them teachers, to observe whatever children do, and whenever possible, without interfering, keep documenting. So we had a fantastic documentation, of whatever children were doing for quite some time. And all the adults would sit and watch the documentation to understand what are children doing, and the whole idea behind all this was that we wanted to reimagine how would a child understand mathematics, physics, and all that on their own. I'm sure implicitly knowledge is getting made. So we wanted to identify what are the implicit knowledge that is getting made, and is there any way possible that we can make it explicit for them to understand it on their own. So we are not going to teach them this is physics and this is how it is, but through their own exploration, they will be able to understand the principles behind various activities. So it was actually supposed to be a long-term, lifelong process, but unfortunately within 3 years we had to close it. Otherwise, I was imagining that to be a place for learning for everybody, because we used to conduct periodical sessions for anybody who is interested in coming and spending time there. So one thing that was banned was that don't interfere with children. That's all what we say. You come and sit with us. We can explore certain things, So that is how we had organized. And there was no separate class for children. Mixed age group was the main thing. And this, there is a very natural, organic way in which children organize themselves. What I've seen in village is that, up to 6, 7 years, one group, and at 3 to 6, 7 is one group. 7 and above, 7 to 10 would be another group. 10, 11. So usually in villages, you find 3, 4 groupings like that. See, once you hit puberty, then there is another completely different group that, groups that happen. So above 13 is one group, 13, 14, 15, 16, like that, So these happen very organically. We were not controlling that you should form this group, And fortunately, another thing was that this school we ran in the midst of a village-like environment. It was in Pune, but it was outskirts of Pune, and the parents were from villages. So luckily, we did not have parents who were always coming every day telling this you learned or that you learned. Of course, there was some concern, but unlike the modern parents, who will come every day to check, we hardly had any this thing. And we also began to interact with the adults, the parents, telling them why we were doing what we were doing. Because of course there was some concern, but not to the extent that would happen in an urban scenario. It did happen. But of course, see, the failure of the project was because we had absolutely no funding. We did not have more people working with us, creating a fantastic write-up about it, and getting more and more people. So there was no, actually there was no support from outside. That was the main thing. So that's how it was.
Yeah, Jinan, I'm just rewording this, Arul. I'm just rewording the question. You just mentioned how do intrinsically children, learn math. How do we explicitly enable that? If you can just, that's what I tried to ask. Yeah. If you can throw some light, help. Yeah.
So we should explore this deeply. Even I'm not sure how that happens. The simple example is that one thing that is very clear is that all of us know grammar without learning grammar. Am I right? At least in our mother tongue?
Yes, yes.
Grammar is implicitly known by us. So, and you see, when I look at my learning process, it's only because I had a metacognitive attention to things that I was able to decode the structure of learning. So I look at two things. One is cognition, that you're observing. Then the next level is metacognition, that you are, I don't know how to put it. See, for example, that video that I shared of the child looking at the feet, that the child comparing and looking at the feet, so many people have seen it, but hardly anybody has seen what I have seen. So I then, because of my interest in observation, I began to see something that others are not able to see. It's a very simple thing. That is because I have interest and I deeply began to observe. Understand? Huh? So I want to share with you another very interesting thing that just happened. I had a session in Delhi recently, and the parent approached me telling that their child has she also has some kind of autistic or some problem, a little problem with but she was so good with words. And her ability was to continuously create rhymes. So the father would say something, the mother would say something, So as people are speaking different things, she would listen to that and then immediately put 2, 3 words together and she, create rhyme. She's hardly 4 years, I think, 4 or 5 years, 4 years, I think, 4-year-old child. Fantastic rhyming, which means that she has an ear which is paying attention to something that we don't attend all the time. Do you understand? Huh? So metacognitive attention is that it is reaching one more level of attention in which you are able to see something that others are not able to see, or that you are upgrading your seeing. Understand? So Rituparna, the issue of beauty is this only. Because you mentioned about art being taught, no? And this is what is missing in most of the modern understanding of beauty. It's actually learning to observe. It's not about creating art. That's a very, very, that can happen much, much later. All the initial years must go in just sensitizing your senses. Pay attention to things. Instead of that, the moment you create something called art, they begin to pay attention to what they do, not the world. They will pay attention to the color, the composition, everything that is getting formed. And of course, an additional ego is created because their painting is exhibited. That is the best way to destroy somebody. Create ego. You can, immediately destroy someone. So Arul, are you able to understand this?
Yeah, to sort of, but I think we'll have to explore this deeply.
I'll give you one more good example. Yeah. My brother's son did not go to school for 12 years. I was telling this yesterday, no? He didn't go to school for 12 years. And then he was sent to a government school nearby. And then and he gave exam in the 12th or whatever, no? 12th standard, he gave exam. And to our surprise, we found that he got very good marks in mathematics, physics and chemistry. Not at all in biology or any language, no. But physics was very good, mathematics was good, and chemistry was good. It was only because he had already lived life and lived all these rules. Understand, na? So when somebody told him about pulley or force or fulcrum, it was very clear to him what that meant. So what is very important is that first we must acquire implicit knowledge first. And then we must figure out a way in which, how do you connect the implicit and explicit? You see, the tragedy with most of us is that we have learned all these many things, but we understand nothing about it. That's because first of all, we did not have any experience of life which would have created implicit knowledge. So connecting implicit knowledge with explicit knowledge is what I think is education. But the better way is that you create an environment in which they begin to explore and bring out what is implicit in them. They make it explicit through a process that will be far more, I think most, true scientists would have gone through this kind of an, process actually. Because see, I keep thinking about Newton, and the story of that apple falling, no? That as if it is one apple that solved the problem. To my mind, it would have been like this, that he must have observed all kinds of things falling, not just one apple. He must have been observing for 10 years, maybe. Different things falling, and I'm sure he must have taken an interest in this, why is it falling? Why is this falling? Why is this falling? Why is this falling? A leaf falling differently. And then suddenly something must have, So these are deeper insights that happen when you are in a sort of meditation. See, when you're observant like this, you are into meditation. When the mind is not interfering, you are into meditation. You are into trying to understand what is life. What are the principles behind nature? How things are functioning. So this is what actually making things explicit, And I think all geniuses are a product of this kind of observation, Whether these are geniuses of in any nature, I remember reading something about Tagore. Tagore was in China with an artist, he was going somewhere. They happened to see a donkey. And both of them stood and looked at the donkey twice. What I mean by twice is a deeper cognition, which made them see beauty in donkey. So beauty, experiencing beauty that way is a metacognitive attention. Yeah. So who is this mail to Carthagena? Yeah, who is that?
Yeah, this Satya, sir.
Tell me. Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, actually, I have two questions. So, intermediate, my connection was lost, so I don't know. Maybe that sir has
Ask the
been
question.
like attacked by the people. So, first question is like, so yesterday I asked you like, I want to do this kind of like, just a minute. Yesterday, as Anisha told, right? So same thing. So how can I set the environment for my kid? The second question is like, in case if I'm doing the same kind of like environment for my kid, so the future how the future life will be like, he needs any examination for 10th standard or 12th standard, or how it will be, sir? Can you light on?
Yeah, you see, this tells those kind of things that we will not discuss here. There are so many people doing it. You join our groups, and you will get connected with some people who are doing that. I don't do that business. Of course, it is possible. There are many people doing it, and I'm sure one of those people will tell you that.
This is Arul. Just for one information, if you allow me, I'll just share.
Yeah.
There is a good friend of mine who has a lot of views like Jinan. He organizes a monthly kind of a parent circle in Chennai every first Sunday in Chennai, and in Pondicherry also we are trying to. I'm basically from Pondicherry, so I mean whoever is interested, if you just I'll share some information about when and where is happening. Some parents, if they are interested, they can join. Okay, it's just
regarding
trying
what?
to.
What?
Regarding the same of the a lot of especially parents who want to like small ages, I completely agree. Parents will have less of a
No,
problem.
understood. Yeah, you can post that. Let's post it in the group. You see, usually I don't encourage posting of this regular things because we have a very clear agenda that we want people who are exploring with us on how children learn. So we don't really encourage other kind of posts in our group. But
absolutely.
Suppose somebody wants to do later some kind of passing exam and all that kind of stuff. That we can have another group for that, but not in the main group. Yeah, but you can post it here in this group.
Thanks.
Yeah, Subhashini.
Sir, how are you, sir?
Good. Tell me.
So talking about this implicit and explicit knowledge, so how children learn implicitly and how we make it explicit. I have been observing my daughter. So she's at home and she's doing all the things that she wants to do. So I've been seeing her. Some days she would sit in front of the washing machine and see how it is working. Some days she would play with water and she would find out things. And one day she got a lens and she was just playing with it and she realized that the lens can project the image. So whatever is in outside, it is coming inverted in the wall. Then she realized that the lens can focus the light and she would put paper and she would burn it. Then she would take it out, start burning trees and leaves and all of that. So I understand that this is implicit knowledge that is getting created. And then maybe later, if she chooses to learn or go to school or look at books and find out, and I'm sure that she would be able to connect this implicit knowledge and make it explicit. I mean, is that how it works?
Yeah. You see, the thing is that there has to be a consistency in experience. Then only this explicit, implicit can happen. You see, for example, I have actually looked at children for several years. So I had a consistent way of looking at something. It happened random,
Okay.
That's one main thing. Yeah.
Okay. Because for sometimes the interest is in one thing and then the interest goes to another thing, because sometimes she would spend all the day doing cardboard structures with cardboard. Then she would spend her time doing something else. So, I mean, all of these are like implicit
that's okay.
learning.
What I'm telling is that don't interfere with that process, That is the main thing, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So we don't go giving scientific explanations to all of these, no?
You don't know.
Not needed.
Whatever nonsense you read, don't repeat such nonsense. Because we know nothing, so don't explain anything to children. See, unless you truly know by doing, then you talk. Otherwise, please don't do this. Transferring some silly knowledge, something from your mind, don't do that.
Okay.
That's actually very damaging for children. You will stop their exploration
Okay.
by the process.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir?
Ranjita, your hand is up.
Hi, Uncle. Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to share my, thing why this against method draws my attention. Because see, I have a 3-year-old kid, sir, uncle. Like as you said, we are in Bangalore, so we are staying in an individual house where my house owner is a, one who we are basically from Coimbatore, so we speak Tamil at home, and the house owner, they are Muslim, they speak Urdu at home, and with us they speak only in English. So my kid, I know, usually visit to their home, and they speak with him in English. So now he knows to speak English, Tamil, in Hindi, and Kannada also. So, I mean, speaks in the sense he knows a few things. Hindi, English, and Tamil he speaks fluently. Kannada, few sentences he knows. Words also he knows, and similarly in Hindi also. So, why I wanted to share this is because you said observing, connecting things together like that while learning a new language. So, I am very curious about how did my children learn Tamil? Because when I used very intricate words like in Tamil, we used to say Malai Thurudhu. Thurudhu means it's just drizzling. So I don't know when I uttered this word. When my kid was only 2.5 years old, when he started speaking, it was drizzling, and I told him we'll go for a shop. Then he told me, Amma Mala Thurudhu. I was like awestruck by listening. When did he listen this intricate word from me and repeating it in the same moment when he is experiencing it? So at that time, when you told this, I'm now able to connect, observing and connecting things together because he experienced the drizzle, and that moment only I told this word. So it is very easy for him, and flawlessly it is coming to him.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so similarly, one more instance, like the house owner's girl, she used to say that he likes cat, and she used to point her finger and say cat is staying upstairs. So he don't know actually what is called upstairs, but he listened this, he linked this point towards the upstairs and said listen from her, like the cat is staying upstairs. So whenever he's trying to put it in action, whatever he has learned. In the very next moment, when we were in the similar situation, like we went out, and in the mall, my husband is staying upstairs. Then I asked my kid, where is your dad? Then he said he is upstairs. That is the first time I heard that word from my son. How did you learn this word? Then I got to know through this incident that's happening before to him, he learned it. So this is how it has happened, and I'm just observing my kid on day-to-day basis. And one more thing I wanted to share is my kid is 3 years old, so we are planning to start or looking for schools. So I know something about homeschooling. No, homeschooling. So I asked my husband, why did you want your kid to go school? So basically here, so from my space, I'm from Coimbatore, and we are the first generation graduates. So in out of my experience or our experience, it is that we condition, like we have to go school, get a degree, get a good job, earn money, build a house, get a car, and this is like a conditioned thing. This is what is defined as success to us. But I understood that it is not success, and then I told my husband, if this is what we are looking for, this is we should not send them to school, because I myself find as a convict, I'm the example, for not going, against schoolings, because my interest is somewhere else. Now I find I did not learn anything in my 30 years of life. Though I did my graduation in engineering, I am in an IT job. These are all not my interest. Now my interest is somewhere else. For this, it takes 30 years for me to learn this and do. Naturally, my interest is somewhere, and I identified it very earlier also. Even I remember told to my father that I am a good orator. I wanted to become a journalist. I told this to my father, I remember, but as like a herd mentality, he made me join in an engineering, and I also didn't, shout out for that, and things has come up to this extent. So I don't want this to happen to my son, my child, and that's why I have joined this against methods thing.
Yeah.
So and one more thing, when we were discussing about this homeschooling, I and one of my friend, and he told me, did you observe any birds? Any living beings, like not humans, birds or animals, etc. They live so much aligned to nature. They do only things which is essential for their survival and don't do any things apart from their survival. Correct? For example, the bird teacher, it don't bother to save money or save food for their the birds younger ones future and all, right? It just make that little bird to learn how to fly, how to search for food. So everything is like practically it does only by showing. It will show how to fly. Correct? The mother bird will teach the younger bird how to fly, and it makes this little bird sit in the tree, and it will fly, and by seeing that, this bird also will fly. Like that, I personally feel for my kid, I just want to make him not teach, make him observe me, or by the environment that I'm providing, to learn a life skill which is essential for his survival. And from that, if he picks up anything like music, drama, arts, or whatever, in that, maybe as you quoted as an example, if in that way, if he becomes a Charles Darwin also, I'm fine. Not become a CEO or an entrepreneur is good for me. It's okay. I'm completely satisfied if my son is not become an IAS officer or a CEO of a company or even a collector or whatever. But out of his interest, if he wants to become a great musician also, is okay for me. So in that way, whatever in that profession, whatever he's earning for his survival is okay. Not necessary to earn so much of money and all. That definition I wanted to break. So your session is an eye opener for me, like how I'm conditioned. I got so much of clarity, uncle. Thank you so much.
So we'll stop after the next one. Huh? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So
I have one last question. You can choose to answer it now or later. My question is, how do you deal with the social challenges of going against the method, you and your brother? Because you mentioned that your brother's son did not go to school for 12 years. And it is a big thing, especially when people around you are sending. So I feel the biggest challenge for the people who are convinced that how methods are damaging the children, and they want to go against, but mostly due to the social pressure and how to deal with others makes them not do certain things. So I wanted to learn about your experience of how do you deal with the challenges.
See, for example, see, when you are really convinced, then you almost become choiceless in your action. So see, when I was in my 4th year, I decided never to work in my life. 2 things I decided: do only what I really like to do, never work, never do 9-to-5 job. That was in my 4th year in engineering, before I even passed out. But I was so absolutely convinced that I did not have a choice. Understand? So it depends on your conviction. If you're 100% convinced, then there is absolutely no second thought about it. Luckily, my brother also got into a similar kind of situation, that he started doing organic farming and things like that, and he was also interested in Krishnamurti and people like that, J. Krishnamurti, and all that actually led to him taking that position. I mean, when you are convinced, you don't have a choice about it. So it's actually your conviction that is important, that you are absolutely convinced, then this is the way. There's no other way possible. Of course, that can create problem in the household and all that, but when your priorities are set, if there is, so either you can, do it with compassion or without compassion. So that is the.
Sir, I have.
I think we should stop now. Just ask the question. We will, maybe I will answer later, but I don't want, I need to stop now.
Here, keep this from clear. I am not joined in any of the group. I'm again and again saying it. Question
The group thing I mentioned about the group, that I will be sending group invite into the WhatsApp group right now. After some time. So
I'm
you
not
can
in
from
that
there
WhatsApp group.
Of course you are there.
That
I
is what
joined.
I'm
Oh, you're not
No,
in
no,
the
I'm
group?
not there. No, I'm not there. I think I have inboxed
Okay,
you
then
that I'm not in the group.
I will add you. Sorry. I thought you are
Yeah,
in the group.
please.
I will add you. Huh? I
That
thought you were
that
talking about
was
the another group that I'm talking about.
No.
I
I'm
will add.
talking about any of the group. I'm not added because
Oh, I
think
didn't realize that.
basically
I didn't realize.
I did not I did not came through the. I directly I think I paid and then I get through your send link.
You
in the
joined
WhatsApp.
in the last minute, so you just before you
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at the. Okay, so don't worry. I will
That's
add
what
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Your session was amazing. It was an eye opener. I want to get connected to because I have more questions where I can get answers to these communities because I see none in outside the modern world. Thank you so much. Really, it was amazing.
Okay, so we'll keep in touch.
Sir, I have
Who was that?
only one.
Who is
Satya.
this? Satya what?
Satya. Sir, actually, I'm against about the school, but I'm living in the city. So how can I set the environment for my kids? So this is my question from very long time.
Yeah, but you have to figure out, move out of the city and do something. There's no other, you can't do both. That you will have to figure out. It's an, personal issue. I don't know how to solve that, That's something that you have to take certain decisions.
But we cannot continue.
Pardon?
But my question is like we cannot continue from by doing these activities from my city itself, or I need to move any village or something like that.
No, that you have to figure it out now. Those kind of things, I think individually you have to start exploring this, no? What is that you can try to do in a city? You first try that, and if it doesn't work, then you find the next alternative, no? So these are things that you have to, because I don't know your situation at all at home. Those things are very personal and individualized. So you have to check out what is that you can do within the city, and then you explore that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, okay. Yeah. Bye. I'm ending
So one last thing. So I wanted to ask you about what are your thoughts on Krishnamurti schools, because you keep sharing a lot of Krishnamurti's thoughts and other things. So the Krishnamurti schools really follow that, or
no, schools have nothing to do with what Krishnamurti is talking about. It's actually a great mistake that they are doing. They know nothing. There is absolutely nothing about Krishnamurti in Krishnamurti schools.
Okay.
I actually call them, they are parasites of Krishnamurti. They're living on Krishnamurti. That's all what they are doing. Nothing to do with Krishnamurti.
Okay.
And I don't think they will ever reach also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
Himself was very upset about the way how schools were running.
Okay.
Like every day, he was never doing that. He wanted the space, so he tried to create, and others created it for him. He was not an organizer or anything like that. But towards the end of his life, was very unhappy with the schools.
Okay.
Huh?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an empowering session.